Throughout the history of the Gran Turismo franchise, there have been a few notorious instances of Easter eggs or hidden surprises tucked away in the game's environments. Gran Turismo 7 builds on that tradition perhaps more than any of its predecessors. These are a few of our favorites that we've been able to find so far. First up, we have the SpaceX rocket at Daytona International Speedway. Daytona Speedway lies on the same bit of Florida coastline as Cape Canaveral, the former Air Force base, which has served as the launch pad for the USA's missions into space for over 60 years. Although it's a reasonable distance away, if you can park up with line of sight in the right direction, roughly southeast, you'll catch sight of a rocket launch and landing. The rocket in question is SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, which famously launched a Tesla Roadster into space in 2018. You'll need to be quick to catch it going up, but if you wait around for a few minutes, you'll see the two booster rockets returning to the designated landing zones. This is a famous Easter egg which dates all the way back to 2001 when it made its debut in Gran Turismo 3, but it has changed in a few ways for GT7. First, it's a lot harder to find. In older games, the monkey was obvious, sitting on a branch right over the top of the circuit. For GT7, he's moved to the top of a unique tree at the edge of the track, but he's still in the same section. More importantly though, it's not technically a monkey anymore. While the original monkey looked something like a tamarin, GT7's is clearly a chimpanzee, which is actually an ape. Another legendary Trial Mountain Easter egg from GT games of old is Nessie, Scotland's famous Loch Ness monster. First appearing in GT4, the monster could be seen popping its head above the surface of the lake outside the track in the final sector. That same lake appears in GT7, but you'll need to be lucky to catch sight of Nessie this time around. Rather than a static image, the monster is a dynamic animal which actually surfaces and flops around a bit. Your best bet is to park at the top of the hill looking down at the lake. Nessie appears roughly every 5 minutes, although given the track's new location near the California-Nevada border, perhaps it should be renamed Tahoe Tessie? We're not quite sure what it is that's attracting so much wildlife to Trial Mountain, but there's also a new third animal lurking near the track, a bear. You'll find the bear to the outside of the track just as you head out of the long tunnel on the back straight. There's actually a road sign on the right side of the track declaring wildlife crossing. If you head back towards the tunnel from there and look between the trees and rocks, you'll spot him. Hopefully he isn't hungry, given how close the track marshals are. The fastest Gran Turismo players in the world are often affectionately referred to as aliens, but they aren't the only ones you might encounter at this famous Australian circuit. Just like actual alien abductions, this one is really hard to spot and depends on precise location and timing. You'll need to be up at the top of Skyline on the westernmost section of the track and be prepared to wait for a while. After about 10 minutes, a flying saucer will pop up above the hills in the distance. It will beam up a cow, then zip off in the approximate direction of Melbourne. You may recall when the Mount Panorama circuit made its debut in Gran Turismo 6 that you could find a mob of kangaroos under a tree in the infield. Well, GT7 has taken that a step further. As you're racing down the Conrad Straight, you'll find a roo making laps of a field to the outside of the track. It takes our friend a few minutes to make a full loop of the field, which is surprising as kangaroos can usually top 35 miles an hour. There's a good chance you'll spot this classic reference during normal gameplay as you progress through GT7's cafe menu books. At one point, you'll be directed to race in the American Sunday Cup 600 at Willow Springs, where you'll race with various American cars coming in at around 600 pp. Fight your way to the front and you'll find that the pack is, somehow, being led by a DeLorean. It's a car that has been in the game since GT4 in 2004, but this time around it's being driven by an AI driver called E. Brown. That's clearly a nod to Doc Emmett Brown, the scientist behind the DeLorean time machine from the Back to the Future film series. The massive oval at Special Stage Route X plays host to a number of background details. including cruise liners, cargo ships, and a surprisingly busy airport. You might even notice a massive jet almost clipping the light poles on the bridge section as it comes in on final approach. One aircraft, however, is particularly interesting, the Antonov An-225. This giant aircraft was the largest and heaviest in the world, originally designed to carry rocket boosters and the Buran space shuttle for the Soviet Union's space program. More recently, it became a darling of air shows and set records for its airlift capabilities, lifting both the heaviest and longest air cargo in history. Unfortunately, while being refitted at its base in Hostomel, Ukraine, the An-225 was destroyed by a Russian airstrike in February of 2022, shortly before GT7 launched. Gran Turismo 7 is also full of subtle references to some of the people who've worked on the franchise. One you'll likely spot without too much trouble is Kazunori Yamauchi's mysterious, longtime official translator known only as Translator-san. He appears as a member of the pit crew in your garage and on the pit wall, sometimes more than once. Other people include Toby Morrish, Penrose Tacky, and David Wilson, shown by name on various trackside signs. These various Sony staff members have all worked on a number of GT releases on the product marketing side. There are other references to both Polyphony Digital and PlayStation staff in the Fantasy Logos section of the game's livery editor. The Ken Chan Deli is a reference to US-based Gran Turismo brand manager Ken Chan, and Nicola Pizza Delivery is likely a reference to UK-based PlayStation PR manager Nikki Lowe. Other restaurant-themed decals, including Steakhouse Appel and Robert's Bakery, are shout-outs to longtime Polyphony Digital staff members Sasha Appel and Tom Roberts. As you might have guessed, Tim Hodges and Toby Morrish are also Sony staff who have worked on the Gran Turismo series for some time now. Elsewhere in the game, at the special stage Route X Airport, you might just catch sight of a plane bearing the name Mulligan Airways. This refers to Will Mulligan, part of Polyphony Digital's track modeling team. Mulligan is apparently quite the business magnate, as he also appears to own the company which created the metal drain grates along the pit wall at High Speed Ring. Another PD staff member making a very central appearance is Rupert Williamson, who appears as your guide in the tuning shop. Williamson is a very familiar figure to anyone who's been to a GT World Tour event, and he previously worked with the HPS Jardine agency that managed the live GT Academy finals. Although not technically a member of the Sony staff, famous video game producer Hideo Kojima is also apparently in the game. You'll find him at various circuits in the crowd, wearing a bright yellow t-shirt and an orange Camber Gang lanyard. Those are the main Easter eggs we've found so far, but there are bound to be quite a few more hiding around the game's detailed environments, and we would not be surprised if more Easter eggs found their way into GT7 with future updates. Let us know if you find anything else in the comments, or stop by our forums at gtplanet.net.